Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
From Joan Crawford forcing her daughter to scrub floors with a toothbrush for talking back, to Zsa Zsa Gabor manipulating her ex-husband into marrying her sister, leaving him emotionally shattered, these 10 Hollywood icons lived lives that rivaled the drama of their films. Joan Fontaine's elegant facade masked a venomous rivalry with her sister, Olivia de Havilland. Their feud wasn't just a private matter. Fontaine took every opportunity to undermine her sister publicly. At the 1947 Oscar ceremony, when Olivia won Best Actress for To Each His Own, Fontaine coldly brushed past her sister backstage, loudly proclaiming to nearby press, "I don't know her." This public snub left Olivia in tears and cemented their feud in the public eye. Their animosity reached new heights during their mother's final days. Fontaine accused de Havilland of not informing her of their mother's death or inviting her to the funeral. In reality, Olivia had sent a telegram that went astray. Instead of seeking clarification, Fontaine used the incident to further vilify her sister in the press, stating, "Olivia has always said I was first at everything. I got married first, got an Academy Award first, had a child first. If I die first, she'll be furious, because again, I'll have got there first." Fontaine's pattern of insecurity and competitiveness continued throughout her life as she sought to protect her own career by undermining her colleagues. Fontaine, who was the star of the film The Affairs of Susan, was known to have a tense rivalry with her co-star, the talented actress and singer Ginger Rogers. Fontaine allegedly made unflattering remarks about Rogers' acting abilities to others on set, attempting to undermine Ginger's confidence and standing in the production. Additionally, Fontaine reportedly tried to gain more screen time and attention for her character, which further pushed Rogers into the background. Tallulah Bankhead embodied chaos in Hollywood's golden age. Her behavior went beyond mere eccentricity. It was often cruel and calculating. Bankhead's wild parties were notorious even by Hollywood standards. During one particular party, Bankhead decided to play a cruel prank on the young Bette Davis, who was known for her strong personality, but was also a newcomer to Hollywood at the time. As the night progressed, Bankhead began to publicly mock Davis, making snide remarks about her looks and acting skills in front of the guests. Bankhead's comments were laced with sarcasm and intended to belittle Davis, who was visibly uncomfortable but tried to maintain her composure. The atmosphere became increasingly tense as Bankhead, fueled by alcohol, continued to draw attention to Davis, laughing at her expense and urging the guests to join in the ridicule. This behavior not only embarrassed Davis, but also alienated her from the other partygoers, who were caught off guard by Bankhead's cruelty. During a Broadway performance of Private Lives, Bankhead, known for going commando, deliberately flashed the audience during a pivotal scene. She later boasted to the press, "I did it to see if they were awake out there." This stunt nearly got her fired, but she managed to spin it as a publicity coup. Her backstage behavior was equally shocking. During another play, Bankhead developed a feud with her co-star. In retaliation, she urinated in the actress's drinking glass just before a crucial scene. When the unsuspecting victim took a sip and spat it out on stage, Bankhead could barely contain her glee, later bragging about the incident to anyone who would listen. These incidents exemplify Bankhead's darker side, where her desire for attention and dominance in social settings led her to act in a vindictive manner, showing a willingness to humiliate others for her own amusement. Zsa Zsa Gabor's glamorous exterior masked a heart of ice.
If food means that much to you, maybe you better find somebody else.
She was notorious for her backstabbing behavior, often targeting fellow actresses with damaging rumors. Gabor's manipulative nature reached new heights in her dealings with her ex-husband, Conrad Hilton. After their divorce, Gabor convinced Hilton that her younger sister, Magda, would make an ideal wife for him. She orchestrated their meetings, praised Magda's virtues, and even helped plan their whirlwind courtship. The marriage took place in 1942, but Gabor's true intentions soon became clear. Just 3 months into the marriage, Gabor began spreading rumors about Magda's infidelity and mental instability. She simultaneously flirted outrageously with Hilton, reminding him of their past passion. The resulting chaos led to the marriage's swift annulment, leaving both Hilton and Magda emotionally shattered. Gabor later boasted to friends that she had orchestrated the entire affair to punish both Hilton for divorcing her and Magda for being the pretty one in the family. Lana Turner's path to stardom was paved with the shattered dreams of her rivals. She was known to engage in affairs with influential men, using these connections to sabotage the careers of actresses she perceived as threats. Turner's life took a dark turn in 1958, when her 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, stabbed Turner's abusive boyfriend, mobster Johnny Stompanato, to death. In the immediate aftermath, Turner's first concern was not for her traumatized daughter, but for her own career. She seriously considered taking the blame herself, believing she could spin it as self-defense and generate public sympathy. When cooler heads prevailed and Cheryl was put forward as the killer, Turner saw another opportunity. She coached her daughter on what to say to the police, emphasizing Stompanato's abusive behavior and Turner's own helplessness. During the ensuing inquest, Turner gave a performance worthy of an Oscar, appearing in a tight-fitting sweater and dramatically recounting Stompanato's abuse. Her testimony was so over the top that the judge had to ask her to tone it down. The incident, far from ruining Turner's career, revitalized it. She used the publicity to land the lead role in Imitation of Life, one of her most successful films. Meanwhile, Cheryl was sent to a juvenile facility and later a psychiatric hospital.
And my mother, for all her faults, and she admits them herself, she did her best. You know, she really tried to do her best.
Her own trauma largely ignored in favor of her mother's revitalized career. Judy Garland, despite her image as America's sweetheart, was a master manipulator behind the scenes. She expertly played studio executives and co-stars against each other, creating a web of favors and obligations that served her interests. Garland's manipulative behavior reached horrifying heights during her marriage to Sid Luft. In 1954, during a heated argument, Garland locked herself in the bathroom. Luft heard the sound of breaking glass, followed by Garland's anguished cries. When he broke down the door, he found her with her wrists slashed, blood everywhere. As Luft frantically tried to stop the bleeding, Garland smiled and said, "Now you can't leave me." It soon became clear that the entire incident had been staged. Garland had used a combination of broken glass and ketchup to create the illusion of a suicide attempt, all to manipulate Luft into staying in the relationship. This wasn't an isolated incident. Garland regularly used threats of suicide to control those around her. During the filming of A Star is Born, she would call director George Cukor late at night, threatening to kill herself if he didn't reshoot certain scenes to her liking.
So I can't quite be called overnight sensation.
These manipulation tactics, combined with her drug and alcohol abuse, made working with Garland a nightmare for cast and crew alike. Claudette Colbert's reputation for being difficult on set was well earned, but her true nature was even darker. She would insist on camera angles and lighting that flattered her while intentionally making her co-stars look less appealing. Colbert's diva behavior reached new heights during the filming of Cleopatra in 1934. She demanded that her bath scenes be filmed in real milk, insisting it was essential for her skin's luminosity on camera. This extravagant request forced the studio to truck in over 800 gallons of milk daily, which quickly spoiled under the hot studio lights. The putrid smell made cast and crew members physically ill, but Colbert refused to compromise, threatening to walk off the set if her demands weren't met. Colbert's obsession with her appearance led to more than just milk baths. She was infamous for only allowing the left side of her face to be filmed, believing it to be her good side. During the production of It Happened One Night, she had director Frank Capra fire a cameraman who dared to shoot her from the right. When Capra refused, Colbert threw a tantrum so severe that filming was halted for 2 days, costing the studio thousands of dollars. Her demands extended to her co-stars as well. Colbert insisted that taller actors stand in trenches when filming alongside her, to make herself appear taller. In one infamous incident, she had a rising starlet's heel sawed down secretly between takes, ensuring that she would tower over the younger actress in the scenes together. Gloria Swanson's rise to the top of Hollywood was fueled by ruthless ambition. She was known to make secret deals with producers, effectively undercutting her rivals' chances at leading roles. Swanson's ruthlessness in maintaining her star status knew no bounds. In the 1920s, she spread a vicious rumor that up-and-coming actress Paula Negri was actually a man in drag. The Whisper campaign was so effective that Paramount Pictures was forced to release Negri's medical records to prove her gender, causing the actress significant emotional distress and nearly derailing her entire career. Swanson's manipulative tactics didn't end there. She was known to invite younger actresses to her home under the guise of mentorship. During these friendly meetings, she would manipulate them with alcohol and pump them for information about upcoming roles and auditions. Armed with this insider knowledge, Swanson would then use her connections to swoop in and steal the parts for herself.
All I ask is for you to be a little patient and a little kind.
During the filming of Sunset Boulevard in 1950, Swanson's jealousy of her younger co-star, William Holden, reached fever pitch. Convinced that Holden was stealing her spotlight, Swanson resorted to sabotage. She would deliberately flub her lines during Holden's close-ups, forcing multiple retakes and exhausting the actor. In one pivotal scene, she accidentally knocked over a lamp during Holden's monologue, ruining the take and forcing the crew to reset, much to director Billy Wilder's frustration. Jean Harlow's blonde bombshell image belied a calculating mind. While adored by fans, Harlow was known in Hollywood circles for her underhanded tactics. She would strategically spread rumors about her competitors, manipulating situations to push them out of the limelight. Her pursuit of married men was relentless, with her affair with Clark Gable being particularly scandalous. During the filming of Red Dust in 1932, Harlow openly flirted with Gable on set, despite the presence of his wife, Rhea Langham. She would often forget her lines when filming intimate scenes with Gable, necessitating multiple takes and prolonging their physical contact, much to Langham's visible distress. Harlow's rivalry with other actresses often turned nasty. During the production of Dinner at 8, she felt threatened by the attention given to the younger, prettier Madge Evans. Harlow began spreading rumors that Evans was difficult to work with and had bad breath, eventually convincing MGM executives to reduce Evans' role in the film. Perhaps most infamously, Harlow caused a scandal at a high-profile Hollywood party in 1934. She arrived wearing a sheer, clingy dress with nothing underneath, effectively upstaging the event's hostess, Marion Davies. As she sashayed through the crowd, the dress became increasingly transparent under the lights, causing a mixture of shock and titillation among the guests. The incident made headlines, overshadowing the charity event and infuriating Davies, who had considered Harlow a friend. Bette Davis's legendary status in Hollywood was matched only by her infamous behavior towards co-stars she disliked. Her feud with Joan Crawford was particularly vicious, with Davis going to extreme lengths to sabotage Crawford. During the filming of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962, Davis's cruelty knew no bounds as she sought to torment her co-star at every turn. In one particularly vicious incident, Davis had a Coca-Cola machine installed on set, knowing full well that Crawford was married to the CEO of Pepsi at the time. She would ostentatiously drink Coke in front of Crawford, even offering it to crew members within earshot of her rival. The abuse wasn't limited to petty gestures. During a scene where Davis's character was required to drag Crawford across the floor, she deliberately kicked Crawford in the head, causing a gash that required stitches. When confronted about the unscripted incident, Davis coldly remarked, "I barely touched her." Years later, upon hearing of Crawford's death, Davis reportedly quipped, "You should never say bad things about the dead, only good. Joan Crawford is dead. Good." This final barb encapsulated the depth of Davis's lifelong animosity towards her rival. But then again, Joan Crawford was no angel, and this leads us to our last evil star. Joan Crawford's evil nature extended far beyond her professional life. The abuse of her adopted children, as detailed in her daughter Christina's memoir, Mommy Dearest, shocked the world. Christina revealed that Crawford would force her to scrub floors with a toothbrush for minor infractions, showcasing a level of cruelty that was hard to fathom. Her adopted son Christopher bore the brunt of particularly sadistic punishments. In one horrifying incident, Crawford tied the young boy to his bed for hours, leaving him alone in the dark as punishment, again for something minor. Christopher later recalled being so terrified that he wet himself, only to be further berated and beaten by Crawford when she finally returned. Crawford's abuse wasn't limited to her home life. On movie sets, she was known for sabotaging younger actresses whom she perceived as threats. During the filming of The Woman in 1939, Crawford felt overshadowed by the younger, more beautiful Norma Shearer. In retaliation, she convinced the costume department to sabotage Shearer's wardrobe. Shearer's dress was secretly altered to be too tight, causing visible discomfort on camera and making it difficult for her to move gracefully. Perhaps one of Crawford's most infamous acts of cruelty occurred in 1953, when she encountered a young Marilyn Monroe in the steam room of a spa. Jealous of the attention Monroe was receiving in Hollywood, Crawford flew into a rage. She grabbed a nearby bucket of ice water and dumped it over the nude Monroe, shrieking, "This will cool you off, you little slut!" Monroe, shocked and humiliated, fled the spa in tears. Crawford later bragged about the incident to friends, seemingly proud of putting the rising star in her place. Crawford's legacy of abuse continued to haunt her children even after her death. In a final act of cruelty, she disinherited her adopted children, Christina and Christopher, famously stating in her will, "for reasons which are well known to them." This posthumous rejection served as a final reminder of Crawford's lifelong pattern of emotional manipulation and abuse.